Okay, we're recording, Rabbi Sa. Okay, what are we doing? For about 45 minutes. That was the socks. Okay. Where did we leave off? Anyone remember exactly? The Gilman show was the last thing we did? Oh, yeah, okay, very good. All right. Okay. We did the Gilliam Rasha. Okay, what else do we have to do here? So again, we're doing the end of Sif Aleph, Sif Beis. Hopefully we'll do most of Sif Gimel tonight. That will be the goal. So we finished the whole sugya of what we call Derech Bishul, right? And we had Kavush, and we had Cham Tzainin L'Sei Cham L'Sei Cham. Okay, all those type of things. There's a few other in Yonah, but I don't think it's good to spend time on that. If you look at the end of the Pischei Tshuva Aleph, I think we discussed it outside. Did we do Pischei Tshuva? Yeah, we did the Pischei Tshuva last week. All right. Mm-hmm. So, but what are you supposed to do with Basar Bechalav once you get it? What are you supposed to do with it? Meaning, let's say Taka, it's Asr. So what do you do with it? So you see on mine, it's the end of the second wide line. In mind, depending on which promise, everybody has different versions of Shulchan Aruch. It's the end, the last two lines in the end of the last two lines in Sif Beis. We want the air conditioner on? Yeah. It makes a lot of noise. So you want to turn it on? Why do all the windows close? Why do all the windows close? They're on the recording. Is it? No, I thought the windows were open. It's like forever. Yeah, I thought the windows were open. I'm sorry. Let's open the windows. It's closed. Okay, let's okay. Let's open windows. I was gonna lose views on YouTube. We don't want. Yeah, sorry. I thought the windows were open. Don't we want to open those windows? Grab the wrong way. Anybody else need a Shulchan Aruch? Another one. There's another one here. Those are more important to open, so we get the. Okay, sorry about that. Huh? We got two on. Starting from Daled. We're no. We're gonna go. We're right now at the end of the Pischei Tshuva. We're doing Pischei Tshuva Sif. At the end of Sif Beis, at the end of Pischei Tshuva. Yeah. Maybe it's not that I could do is it takes so long to to find it. Right. Okay, but he says Basar Bechalav Neser Bahana. It's not so important. So he says Basar Bechalav Neser Bahana Koiver Noisa. If you have Basar Bechalav Neser Bahana, so what do you have to do with it? You can't just throw it into your garbage. You have to bury it. V'im Sarfon, let's say you burn it like you do chametz. Gam Eifrei also. So then the Eifer is also Bahana Min HaTorah. All right, so really, you have to bury it. I never heard of anybody burying the Basar Bechalav. I don't think I ever told anybody that they have to go bury the Basar Bechalav. I don't know if I've ever had a real case of straight Basar Bechalav.
Midaraisa or Midarabban also have to bury?
No, Midarabban wouldn't have to. It's not Asabano. Right. So I don't know if I certainly never told anybody to do that. But I probably because I didn't remember. Be honest, right? I mean, a few times you had it where a few drops of milk fell into a food and it was no shishim. The chayra, then that's maybe not. Maybe it's about the b'rayif.
The same thing being doing So
that's a question: is the toilet considered like the chayra toilet should be enough? Right? Okay. Okay, fine. Now there's I think there's a Gilliam Mashah, one Gilliam Mashah before the one that we ended off with. Fascinating Gilliam Mashah, having nothing to do with our sugi. Totally nothing to do with our sugi, but sometimes you just can't pass up on certain things. Right? The first Gilliam Mashah in the Siman. Yeah? See it? I don't know, on this one, where's your Gilliam Mashah? Yeah. Yeah. See it? Kosa b'tshuvas tzemach tzedek. not yours. Yeah, Siman. Yeah,
Oh,
yes.
I think the dates, like, that's what
Yeah,
happens.
I'm sorry, no offense, but I don't think it's that. I don't think. So, cause of I don't know what years was he before?
It would make sense to you before.
No, right. It's not. It's not that she was sympathetic. Yeah. Because of she was sympathetic, Siman Tzadi Aleph. Gamba mokum b'di'evet mutter. Listen to this. Even in a place where b'di'evet the food is mutter, mikol mokum, right? Im harav osir loy lases kain bitchila v'loy shama. If the Rav told you don't do it, and you didn't listen, and you did it, v'asa loy mikri di'evet. That's not b'di'evet. Meaning you called up the rabbi and you asked the rabbi, am I allowed to put a few drops of milk into the food? And the rabbi says it's going to be batal b'shishim. And you say yes. He says you can't do it. If you already did it, it's okay. But if you cannot do it, and then he does it anyways. So lamaisa, is it mutter or not? Lamaisa to be the evidence, it's mutter, it's batal. He's saying not. When he says that you can't use it, you can't, because since the Rav told you that you're not allowed to do it, then memela you're not allowed. Then memela even b'di'evet it's no
So
good.
if you just know you're not allowed to do it, you do it.
No, that's ein mavat and issa lechatchila. That's a different story, right? That could be. Well, we'll get to Bez Hashem. We'll get to ein mavat and issa lechatchila. Here, he told you not to do it, so that makes it like chal that it's no longer. It's a shtickle, requires a shtickle of lumdus, exactly what the pshat in that is. Because if it's okay b'di'evet, it's okay b'di'evet. What's the difference if he told you not to do it or not? The shayla is it because of ein mavat and issa lechatchila? Because there's a knas from the chachamim that if you did something that you weren't supposed to do, so it becomes usher for you, and for others it would be mutter. Right? Meaning to drop a few drops of milk into your cholent, so it's going to be bottle. So it's b'di'evet, it's okay if it dropped in. If you did it purposely, so it's ein mavat and issa lechatchila, right? But b'di'evet, it's okay. But there's a knas that for you it's not okay. So Mela, when a Rav tells you not to do something, even though in the b'di'evet, if you would, like I always tell people, do it and then ask. If you're not sure, do it and then ask. Like this, you don't have this problem. No. And it doesn't work in all situations. Don't go be dropping milk into your cholent and then ask. No, but you are safer that way, because if you ask and then you do it, then you're done and it's wrong.
Yeah, but what if it's Basar the rice and you were over cooking
Yeah,
Bechalav? Wouldn't that be a
No, yeah.
wouldn't that be a problem? So it's like
But the question is, if it's bottled, then it's not a Basar b'chol rice. If you start right,
technically it's a official.
so that gets back to what we were learning last week. Is that considered mamish? Then would that be Basar b'chol or not? Okay.
Says it's will make you the Evan. Doesn't that sound like it's like not a message? It's not called the Evan.
Right. That's right. It's not a bidi. Bidi is pshat bidi ovad, right? What does bidi come from? Di ovad. If you did it, that's not a di ovad. This is you did it on purpose.
So why is it's not the Evan?
And I'm not sure if it's from the knas of Eimavat and Issa Lechatchila, or it's a whole new din of it. No, it's not considered b'di'evet because the Rav told you not to. Right? I'm just not sure what the lumdus is behind it. But yeah, 100%, you're right that it's not called b'di'evet because you shouldn't have done it. Right? B'di'evet is if it happened, and here it didn't.
That is not what he's not what am I trying to say?
Yeah, no, yeah, that's what he's saying. Yeah, 100%. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so Bays we already did. Well, let's just read it again. Sif Bays in the Shulchan Aruch, yeah? So Gedi Lav Dafka, Duadin Shar Seve'ez, it doesn't mean necessarily a goat. It means Huadin Shar Seve'ez, Veloishna B'chalev Aim, Veloishna B'chalev Acheres, doesn't make a difference when it's in the mother's milk or any other milk. Ela Shadivra Kasa B'haiva, the pasuk is talking about what they must have had that you cook that in its mother's milk, right? Okay. Now Gimel, there's a lot. There's a lot of interesting. There's a lot. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if we'll get through Sif Gimel. Well, we'll try. Right? We did this already, but we're just at least the mechaber we did. It's only noyeg b'basa behema tahira, b'chala behema tahira. Meaning it has to be kosher milk, kosher meat. If it's not kosher milk and not kosher meat, if one of them is missing, aval basar tahira bechalav tameya, right? It's kosher cow's milk with, let's say, cow's meat with camel milk, or basar tameya, or let's say pig, right, with kosher milk, mutarim bebishul uba hana, they're mutter and bishul and hana. Now, obviously, it's not osir. I mean, it's also ba'achila because it's also ba'achila. It's also ba'achila anyways, right? So that's pretty obvious. But we're saying that it's mutter and bishul and hana. So therefore, l'chayra, if you're working, okay. So 1 second. If you're working for McDonald's, going back to that motion, yeah, if you're working for McDonald's, so then can you cook? So the hamburgers l'chayra are from cow.
Yeah.
I think so.
No,
I'm assuming it's cow, right? And the cheese, is also from a cow. So that would be a problem. But if you work in the pork section of McDonald's, which I don't know if they have pork, but if they do, then you'd be able to work there for sure. Right? I mean, not for sure. I mean, again, not there's an isser to do work with treif. That's a different story. We're talking about the bishul basar b'cholov. Right? If your job was to cook the pork with the cheese, then it's fine. Right? Oh, what about nevela and treifa? Meaning the Shulchan Aruch is only discussing non-kosher. Right? You see, it's hard because we use treif. We use treif across the board. But let's use we have to use it with the proper terminology. So treif and nevela are kosher, and a treifa is a kosher animal that wasn't going to live out the year. Let's go with the basic definition. It's kosher, but right now it's perfectly kosher. But since it's treif, since it will not live out the year, so therefore it's not kosher. Or nevela means it's a kosher animal that wasn't shechted properly or wasn't shechted at all. Right? The Shulchan Aruch doesn't discuss that. Right? So okay, so what's the status? What's the status with that? So the shaila is who to look at where is it? There's no Dogam Ravava here? Oh, here. It's on the bottom by me. Dogam Ravava? See a Dogam Ravava? Anybody? You should have it.
The little thing at the bottom, it's under the.
And my other Shulchan Aruch, it's on the side. And the old Shulchan Aruch is on the side. At least in my other old Shulchan Aruch. I don't know. Every Shulchan Aruch's got a different. What?
What's the last one?
No, it's for standards.
Oh, yeah, the newer ones has the item on the bottom.
You have it.
You're gonna have it somewhere in the back, probably.
If you don't have it, you can listen also.
But then I have to read it correctly. Okay, so the Dogam Ravava says, yeah? Yeah, I basar tameya b'chalav tahira. Ubasar nevela, right? That's our issue. Ubasar nevela v'chein chaylev. Yeah? Basar nevela and chaylev. Yours doesn't have, oh yeah, that new one. I don't know where they put it in there. They gotta have it there somewhere. No, I'm saying that one. Yeah. Let's see. Ubasar nevela v'chein chaylev. Right? Asar levashel b'chalav min ha'torah. The loika b'shulai. Hear that? So the Dogam Ravava is machmer. The Dogam Ravava is machmer, and he says nevela and chaylev. That's also to cook b'chalav min ha'torah, and you're gonna get malchus if you cook it. Ava b'achila ain't but yisur basar b'chalav. But achila, you don't have basar b'chalav. Now you got a whole twist here, right? He's saying since the meat is behemoth tahira, even though it's treif, meaning what's okay, okay, we'll hold off on that. Meaning he's saying that as long as the meat is kosher, then you're gonna have an isser to cook it. It's gonna be and it's and you can even get malchus on the bishul, but ba'achila is no isser basar b'chalav, meaning there's still an isser. Obviously, it's tray. It would not tray. It's tray for nevela, right? So there's still obviously there's an isser to eat it, but not al basar b'chalav. There's isser to cook it al basar b'chalav. There's no isser achila basar b'chalav. Okay. V'chazim mavur b'Rambam perek tes michalas asuras halacha vav v'amnam imhu aser bahana eina mavur b'divrei Rambam. Whether it's aser bahana is not so clear. Now, why is this so negeya? Let's see if the oilam can figure out why this is so negeya. Makeup, what? McDonald's, but even more negeya than McDonald's, especially since Corona. I don't expect anybody to have any idea what I'm talking about.
Vaccines.
Uber Eats.
Vaccine?
No, not vaccine. Maybe. No, more simple than that.
Mask.
Has nothing to do with COVID, but etzem. It just
You told me this last week and I still don't remember.
That's why you're welcome to this chabura, at least on my end. From Corona, people started wanting pets. I don't know why. I think the loneliness of the Corona. And people just dogs, and specifically people wanted dogs. No, lots of people got dogs since Corona. I think now it's already fizzling out to the extent that I almost made a PDF for dogs on dogs halachas of having dogs. Neutering it because you want to get it neutered or spayed. I don't know which one. One is for the girl, one is for the boy. Spayed, neutered, and then how do you feed it on Shabbos? And when you open your front door, it might run out, and all sorts of shilas, and it's muksa, etc., etc. But there's also what? Dog food. And dog food, you tell them, by the way, when you go shopping for your dog food, you have to make sure, it doesn't need a hechsher, but you got to make sure there's no milk and meat in there, right? Otherwise, you're being nana from basar b'chalav. But that's, again, if it's cow's meat, that's where you get into this dogma mavava.
Somebody just put milk.
That's it.
Yeah, so then you'd have to know. You'd have to say, you'd have to be mavar exactly whether it was. I'm assuming it would be cooked together. All right, so that's where it comes up. So based on this dogma mavava, if you say, I don't know how common. I'm not up to date on. I know that Star K has a whole page on pet food for Pesach. So I don't know. I never looked at it. I sent people the link to it for Pesach. I never actually looked at it myself. Although my kids begged for a dog in Corona, mamish begged. Well, that's yeah. So, but that would be the negei lamaisa here. Yeah, so he's saying, okay, for Amram imhu asa ba'ano eina muvur b'divrei Rambam, and at least in the Rambam in the Yad. Avo b'pirish ha'mishnayis v'mesech the krisis perek shlishi b'mishnah yesh ochel achila achas muvur sham b'divrei Rambam she'eina asa ba'ano ayin sham. Okay, there the mishnayis is mashman that the Rambam holds it is not asa ba'ano. In which case, then you don't need to be careful in your dog food whether it's kosher, whether it has milk and meat. Ayin sham nekuda on the flaw shabir sham. V'avshel divrei ataysin sech techulin daf kuf aleph amrala p'dira masel iser kailel shekasu she'iser hanol loy mikri iser she'iser hanol loy mikri iser ma'isif. I'm sorry, she'iser hanol loy mikri iser ma'isif. Okay, we're not going to go into this whole thing. Ein hechrich l'divrei an nekudas an afla. Amikol makom lemetzino l'ataysin b'ferish she'yichalko al dina shel harambam she'echa she'ena asa ba'achila m'shum basar b'chalav ena asa ba'ana. Meaning, bottom line is we don't see that Taisus specifically disagrees with the Rambam and the Pirush and Mishnayos, meaning where it's not asaba achila because of basar b'chalav, it's not asaba, meaning that the two go along. Basically, that's what shah. The two go hand in hand. If it's not asar al tzachilas basar b'chalav, which we said it is, does that mean that automatically it's also mutabana? That's the shayla. So he's saying v'lechein asaymach hazeh b'makom hefsid lo yafsid. So if it's a makam hefsid, you will not lose if you're saimach that nevela and treifa meat mixed together with milk is cooked together with milk, whether that's asabana or not. So again, lechatchila is the way that from what I understand, the Paiskim Achronim and Paskin like this, and they say lechatchila try and get dog food that's not basar b'chalav, but if you need, then you can get You can get the dog, if the vet says, oh, he needs this specific dog food. So you gotta get him that, so you can give him that specific
Even a
dog. food.
small hefsid? This is a hefsid.
No, he just, yeah, he's a, Malcolm Hefsid. Yeah, it doesn't have to be a Hefsid Gadol.
Someone bought a bag of dog food already, and they would throw it out. You wouldn't have to throw it out?
Huh?
Someone bought a bag of dog food already. and you had to
So
swap.
far, you wouldn't have to. I would think you wouldn't have to, right? Yeah. Fine. Yeah, whether you should do this.
No, you can't, it's still quick, but it's not muscle color.
That's not household transaction.
Yeah, it's muscle color only with kosher meats.
Yeah. Okay, now, okay, so that's that little sugi. It's more of a sugi, but it's not so kedai. But now this next ber hetev, or if you listen to the laning today, it should really be pronounced ba'er hetev, right? But we're gonna talk yeshivish, and we're gonna say ber hetev. Yes, so the ber hetev gimel. So you see the long taz and the long shach, right? So this is gonna get a little technical, but it's important you say this in the whole Basar Bechalav, even though it's going to come up later. But it's a very important yisoid. A couple of yisoidas in this ber hetev. Again, the ber hetev or the ber hetev is the kitzer. It's basically the cheating sefer for the taz and the shach, right? So it's a gimel, sifkat and gimel. Sifkat and gimel in the ber hetev. Yeah, have it.
Oh.
Yeah. So now he's saying that it's also bahana, yeah, because of a shach. First, it's the obvious, right? Because of a shach, aval ba'achila, but to eat it, belavachi also in a Torah mishum basa tame, a cholav tame, right? You don't need to say that. Shulchan Aruch doesn't have to say that if you cook again, I'm saying treif. How are we saying it? Pig. I'm going to say pig. Pig. Chazer, davaracha, behemoth tameis, tame. Right. So you don't need to write in the Shulchan Aruch that tame meat with cholav Yisrael milk, right? Is still also to eat because it's also to eat, right? You don't need that, right? So avabachila again, avabachila b'lavachi yosem in atayr mishum basa tame cholav tame, v'loy shayich lesser mishum basa b'cholav. That's already. This is why I wasn't sure to do this before the Dogma Mavava. But he's saying, like what the Dogma Mavava just said, you can't say that there's an Isser Basa B'chalav on Behema Tameya, right? And the Dogma Mavava extends it even to Nevel and Treifa, meaning something that's already treif on its own, when it gets mixed with milk, we're not going to say that it's Asr al Basa B'chalav, because it's already Asr. Right? Meaning, what's the Chiddush of Basa B'chalav? This is, I don't know if we discussed this last week in the Akdama. Maybe we did. I don't remember. If we didn't, we'll say it again. Yeah. What's the chiddush of Basar B'chalav? Where do you have in the Torah that two things that are mutter and you mix them together becomes aser? Right. Other than maybe having a girls' school right next to a boys' school. I don't know. Klayim. So Klayim is another one. Right? Klayim is another one. What?
Shatnez?
Who'd you say?
Shatnez.
Shatnez. That's what one of the boys just said. Shatnez. You have it by Shatnez?
All
You have it by Shatnez?
all three types of clients.
It's Basar B'chalav, Shalom. Yeah. You have it by Shatnez and you have it by Basar B'chalav.
Arias.
What? No, we're not talking about Arayas. That's the Torah says you shouldn't mix the two together. Meaning every you can have neither two, so you can have a couple themselves are also. I don't know if that's the raya or not. The point is that basar's mutter, cholav is mutter. You mix it together, it becomes an isser. So that's a chiddush, right? But once one of them is already asr, so then you're not going to asr it out basar b'cholav. It takes, you're missing the uniqueness of the isser, right? Yeah. You have, by the way, I'm not so sure we're going to go down the road, but it sounds, yeah. It's ain't Isser Chalal Isser. It has something to do with that. Something to do with that. No, it's a combination. It's a combination of it. That's what I think. By the way, you could also have bittul. Well, that Gemara asked, how come there's no bittul by shak? Whatever, I don't know, let's not go down that road. What?
Waistline from there.
Together with it, the whole concept of Basar Bechalav is that it's two things that are mutter that when mixed together becomes all. Yeah, that's the chiddush. We haven't gotten to it yet, but Bez Hashem will get to it. That's one of the chiddush, and why there are so many chumras of Basar Bechalav is because each one is mutter, and you mix it together, it becomes us. Chumras, the chumras of Basar Bechalav come from that the whole thing doesn't make bad. It doesn't make any sense. I'm taking one thing of heter, another thing of heter, putting it together, and now it becomes a issa. Right? Yeah. That's good. We like distractions. Yeah. Anyways, that's what he's saying. So it's meaning it's not shaykh to Isra Basar B'Cholov on something that's already awesome. Right? But the Bach says midrabanan it is awesome because of Basar B'Cholov. Meaning, so if somebody eats treif. Again, I keep using treif. I'm falling into the trap. No, what the truth is now, once we go to Dogam Ravav, it's anything that's treif. Anything treif with basar, with cholov. So now the Bach says, so you're going to be over on the Isser, obviously the Isser of eating the treif food, having nothing to do with the cholov. And you're also going to be over on the basar b'cholov midrabanan. Right? Okay, so now what's the nafkamina? The nafkamina le'inyan chanan. Okay, now chanan, if you really want to sound educated, you say chanan, and most yeshiva guys will look at you like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't know what chanan is. Unless if a guy knows what chanan is, that means he's educated, right? Which we're trying to do, right? Chanan stands for chaticha nasis nevela. That a piece becomes a nevela. Now we're going to spend a little bit of time on it. It's going to come up later on, but it's an important thing to know. The Sfira l'chamachaber l'kamon siman tzadi beis. Tzadi beis is the hardest siman of Basar B'Chalav. The einoi ela beBasar B'Chalav. But we only say chaticha nasas nevela by Basar B'Chalav. Okay, so we'll stop there. Let's go. Here we go. Ready for some examples? So I have this cup here, full of chalav. Yeah, this is full of milk. Yeah. Now I take and I drop a piece of meat into the chalav, hot, obviously. And there's no shishim. No shishim. Right?
The milk is hot.
Milk is hot. Everything we got fills all the things. It's not kavush. It's hot. The choladeis. It's bishul basar b'cholam. I did it on purpose. The Rav told me not to do it. I did it. I did. I'm yoitza all the shitas. It's straight basar b'cholam. Yeah. This whole thing. Yeah. Now it goes, and I see. I should use something smaller. Okay. Let's switch it. Yeah. I have this cup full of basar b'cholam. Right. Meat, milk, cooked, givaldik. Yeah. Then it goes. This cup. Then goes and falls into this cup. Okay? In this cup, I should have just gotten a pot from my mother, but okay. But in this cup, there's 60 times, in this cup is milk, right? Again, a piece of meat fell into here, and there's no shishim. So now this entire cup is treif, correct? Now this cup goes and falls into this cup. This cup has 60 times combined with the milk in here, with the milk that's in here, has 60 times more than the piece of meat that fell into here.
Not the cup.
Not the cup. It doesn't have 60 times more than the cup. It has 60 times more than the piece of meat. Does that become mutter now or not? Because Lamaisa is shishim of milk neged the meat. Or that's one side. Or do we say chaticha nasis nevela? This became a new entity of treif.
It's hot.
Hot, yeah, still hot. Everything's hot, right? Yeah. Does this become a new entity of treif? And now I need 60 times more than this entire cup, right? Even though ultimately, when I put this cup into here, there's 60 times more milk than the meat, right? So it should be okay, right? Chaticha nasas nevela tells you, no. This became a new entity called a chaticha of nevela. So memela, you now need 60 times more than this cup. Oh, so what does that have to do with this here? Right? So what it has to do is, oh, 1 second, one more step. Do we pass in this way or not? So now the Shulchan Aruch says in Tzadi Beis that by Basar B'Chalav, yes, other Isurim, no. You knew it wasn't going to be simple, right? Other Isurim is Machlokes. Other Isurim is a Machlokes. Shulchan, let's go with the Mechaber now. That other Isurim, it's not a problem. We don't say this. Basar B'Chalav, yes. So now L'mashal, if you had some Klayim that fell into this cup, now obviously that's not going to work exactly because it's not Isur to eat Klayim, I don't think, right? But let's say a piece of Chazer fell into, and this was hot water, no milk here. Piece of Chazer fell. Well, the truth you could say, okay, let's keep it simple. Piece of what? Flying, but not the climb of the Godim, right? So again, a piece of treif, I'm sorry, not treif. Yeah, treif. Let's say treif or whatever falls into hot water, no shishim, right? Then this treif hot water falls into here. There is shishim neged the treif of food in the new cup. So there, we're going to say no chaticha nas nevela, and the whole thing becomes mutter. Right?
Swing together.
Machlokes or
What? That's a machlokes. So by shari surim we say chaticha. Let's for right now. When we get to Tzadi Beis Bez Hashem, we'll get more into this whole sugya. But right now we're saying that for basar b'chalav, we say chaticha nas nevela. For basar, but for straight other treif, we don't say chaticha nas nevela. Right? So now everything's machlokes. Everything's a machlokes. But right now we're going to go to simple. The simple understanding is by Basar B'Chalav we say this concept. By other Isurim we don't say this concept. Okay, so now it becomes a big nafkamina. If you say that there's an Isur Basar B'Chalav, if there's no Isur Basar B'Chalav on treif that falls into milk, so then let's say it falls into something else, then we're not going to say chaticha nas nevela because it's not basar b'chalav, right? But if it is basar b'chalav, then we're going to say chaticha nas nevela. Now again, I don't know how often this happens. I'll tell you, it does happen relatively often, but not exactly in this case. But it's important to keep it in your head because you tell it to people and they just don't chap, which that's not a chiddush either. But it's a chiddush that I chap, but you do this for long enough, and then you hope that you chap these things, right? But that would be the nafkamina with the Bach calling it basar b'chalav the Rabbanon. So then chaticha nas nevela would make a difference, right? If ba'etzem it's not basar b'chalav at all, at least that's the basar b'chalav part of it, then you will not say chaticha nas nevela. You won't say this concept, right? Now, I'm forgetting to say something. You want to say?
How do you translate chaticha nasis nevela?
The new piece, the chaticha means the literal translation. The piece becomes a nevela, becomes treif, becomes a new entity called treif. Meaning we don't look at it like it's a mixture anymore. We look at it like it is its own new entity of issa, and then memela you need the shishim neged that.
What's
right?
the other way?
What's it sad?
The other way.
That it's not chaticha nas nevela?
Yeah. How do you look at it like that?
Okay. One second. I'll tell you like this. This is the more common case, and let's say somebody calls up, and by mistake, this is what happens sometimes. They're baking a soup. No, they're making a soup, and by mistake they put in like, what do you call it, consomme with a broth. Sometimes they come in the squares and the design, that type of thing, right? Full of MSG or no MSG, that type, anything, somewhere with MSGs, right? No MSG stuff, right? So that stuff, they by mistake, they put it into their soup, right? And then they look at the label and they put it into a dairy soup. And they look at the label and then they see the label says this is meat, right? So now you ask them, is there shishim neged the consomme that you put in? And they say, no, there's no shishim. Do you need shishim neged the consomme, or do you only need shishim neged the amount of meat that's in that consomme? Right?
Cooked together, it's powder.
Exactly. Exactly. That's exactly the point. No, you don't. There for sure you don't say chana because there's no isser. Right? Very good. Very good. Exactly. That's exactly the point. For sure you're not saying, even though we're going to say, when I mean, the whole thing has tom of meat, right? It's not bottle in the consomme. So why don't you say the whole consomme is meat? But there it's pashut. You're not going to say that because it's not isser. How can you say chaticha nasis nevela if the thing is not nevela? It's just meat. Right? So that's the point. You will say, meaning, even though in theory, once you add that meat consomme to your dairy soup, it is a mixture of basa v'chalav, but it never got to basa v'chalav because it was bottled with the ingredient that's in the meat that's in the consomme is bottled from the whole, meaning there's for sure shishim in the whole soup more than the amount of meat that's in that consomme. Now sometimes you're not sure, so you have to tell them to call the company. I'll tell them to call OU and ask them. They give or whoever gives the hechsher, ask them what's the percentages of meat that's in this thing. Tell them your story, and they can answer. I can't answer. I have no idea. For all I know, it's 50%. Right?
It's common.
It's not common, but it happens. I mean, it happens.
Right.
It's where else? What other scenario does it happen?
Is there still tinta malev in that case? Or no, we say it's not there.
No,
No.
there's no tinta.
Most people throw it out on everything.
Of course, everybody throws it out. The first thing they do, they call if the food is in the garbage. By the time the child is asked, the food's in the garbage. You're asking about the kalim, right? Usually, unfortunately, that's what happens. But there's no.
Isn't it very bad to not
Because you didn't get
Why is it unfortunate? They wasted their food.
So.
No, it's not. I mean, it's not. It is a b'diavad. You did it.
Yeah.
You did it by mistake. Correct. Unless you asked the shiloh and they told you not to put it in, and then you put it in, right? Are we understanding this concept? I'm saying it comes up. You want to really take it to the next step. So somebody sticks a milchik spoon, okay, into a fleshik soup. And the spoon was used, the soup was used that day for milchik, mamish hot milchik soup. Right? And now you're gonna need 60 times the spoon, right? Do you need 60 times the spoon? Or do you have to break down what percentage of dairy was in the whatever they stuck it into? Meaning if you say, well, usually that spoon, what's it used for? Coffee. I used it to mix a coffee. I use the spoon to mix a coffee. What percentage of coffee has dairy in it?
I mean, what's that measurement? The molecules of the absorbed.
Yeah, it's hard to pin down. What?
They put them maybe?
What? In which case?
Outside, not the entire spoon. The outside layer, just the
No, we're gonna go with the entire spoon. We're gonna go with the entire spoon because it was cooked.
The milk spoon
It was
is
cooked.
also-
The question is, what percentage you put into a coffee? So your coffee is 10% milk, let's say, and 90% coffee. So your spoon doesn't have 100% milk in it, right? Your spoon doesn't have 100% milk in it. It has 10% milk in it. So do you go that you only need to figure out 10%? It's hard to figure out exactly what you need, but you wouldn't need 100% of the spoon.
That's mamish. I mean, there's no separation there. That makes the spoon the whole thing milk.
Yeah, but how much time? The spoon is that percentage time.
It's different. That's not. It's not.
It's very hard to. It's very hard, but that's why you have to know the percentages.
Only the milk makes the stew milk, not the hot water.
So usually we do. So in most cases, it's not, again, in most cases, not negated, because you'll have hopefully shishim negative the spoon. A lot, I mean, unless it's a very small soup.
But one second, but the spoon is an usher. Why would you apply this concept?
Yeah, but that will always help you.
Maybe say that's nice, that's usually you have to only calculate the milk.
You would calculate with the cheshbon of what percentage of it is milk, and then you get, the question is how you break it down enough.
Proportion of what you went into the store.
That's hard, that's the problem. It's hard to figure out what's the proportion of it. What's the proportion? It could be. Again, you're gonna use all sorts of combinations, because most of the time when you put that spoon, it's already into a klisheni. If you really want to get into advanced, right, the spoon is going into a klisheni. It's not even a klirishin. So now
Oh, because once you cooked it mamish.
Unless you cooked it in.
How much time is transferred by the spoon? And then-
So Lidl work on well.
Clean and then put into the soup.
Yeah, that's what you have to, right, so you have to try and figure out, the point is, we're trying, how you crunch the numbers, I don't know, but we have to know that the numbers can be crunched. That's the point.
Milk is
They
in
call
the
milk from
soup, though. Isn't there like a tiny amount of milk?
That's what we're saying, exactly,
So
exactly.
even if you have a tiny bit of soup, it should be buckled because
It could very well be, it depends how much.
you have to calculate the volume of the whole spoon.
What? That's the question, do you have to go with the whole spoon or not?
It is practical. You have made milk soup and now it's like
It's possible, yeah, it's possible. I'll tell you another example, I think the Olam has it clear, so we don't need that many examples. It sounds like the Olam has it clear. But another example, without getting into controversy, we like controversy. Controversy, helps us. So you have the dairy, it says on the dairy creamers, right? I think we discussed it once Thursday night. I think we discussed it once Thursday night.
Not most people were in there.
Yeah, so you have the dairy creamer. The dairy creamers, the kashrus agencies call them dairy. Now, whether they should be called dairy, shouldn't be called dairy, that's a whole machlokes. But what percentage of a dairy creamer, if it has dairy in it? I'm sorry, they call it non-dairy creamer, but the OU says D. Okay, go figure. That's a whole different shmooze. Bez Hashem, when we get to not bar not, that would probably be. I would hope before Pesach, but don't bet on it, right? If we Bez Hashem, we continue, it would be. It would be. Yeah, I would say in that after the winter's month. I would. What? It comes in a little bit sadly dal. It's a few simon. It's a someone sadly base sadly dal. It's around, but it's important because that's probably the most common shiloh. Not bar not noisen tam. Bar noisen tam. Okay, whatever that is. But point is that what percentage of that non-dairy coffee creamer has dairy in it? Not a very high percentage. Otherwise, the company couldn't call it non-dairy. You got to try and figure out how they're dealing with that it's non-dairy and the OU saying that it is dairy. That's a whole different schmooze, right? But bottom line is, let's say there is dairy in it. It's not more than 1% or 2% of dairy.
Sometimes it says less than 2%.
Right. Okay, so now you take that dairy creamer. So now, let's say it's 2%. So shishim is 1.6%, give or take, right? 1 in 60. So it's not bottle. Let's say it's not bottle. So now that whole thing is considered chaticha nasas nevela, meaning if I add that to my coffee after having a meat lunch in yeshiva, so I need that coffee for second seder. I use the dairy, non-dairy creamer. Do I need shishim neged the dairy that's in it, or do I need shishim neged the whole creamer? If I need 60 neged the whole creamer, you're gonna need a very large coffee in order to be mavatal it. But if you only need it,
Just drink black.
but if you only need it more than for the 2%, then I think I would assume a standard coffee should have shishim neged the right. So if you say chaticha nas nevela, how can you say chaticha nas nevela? Like you said, it's mutter. Unless you keep Chol Yisrael. Right? If you keep Chol Yisrael, and for you it's Chol Stam and it's treif, right? And you say, and well, that's why I said.
Speaking of which, would you?
If you don't hold of it,
It's not possible.
You're not
it's not possible chola, but it's isser.
Would you say?
What?
Would you say the same thing about powdered milk? The powder is not 60, and you add water to it, it becomes a regular glass of milk.
So that's
That glass of milk could be not even milchig, you're
okay,
saying?
so that's so the powdered is a whole shaila, how you calculate shishim neged the powdered. We'll get to that. I don't know when, because I have no recollection where we discuss it, but it's somewhere. It's somewhere. The shaila is, how do you say something that's condensed? So do you can't say your standard shishim, because when you add water to that powder, it's supposed to give a lot more tam than your standard shishim, right? So that's a complicated thing, but let's stick with less complicated, controversial things, right? So if you hold of chaticha nasas nevela by shari surim,
Oh,
not like we're paskening. Let's say theoretically you held of chaticha nasas nevela by shari surim, which you're right for chol of stam, which is a derabbanon. I would think that even the sheet, again, I'm just shooting this off. That I would even think the sheetas that say chaticha nasas nevela by other Yisurim wouldn't say it by not chol of Yisrael. That's a little bit of a stretch. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I can hear that in theory, right? But let's say you don't keep chol of Yisrael. Sorry, you keep chol of Yisrael. So now, and you say chaticha nasas nevela. So now now you need shishim neged that entire creamer. But if you don't eat chol of Yisrael, and you want to drink that coffee with the non-dairy creamer, so then once you add that non-dairy creamer to your mix, it's batal b'shishim. No, and you can even lachari, you can even do it. Can you do it lechatchila? Is another controversy. Is that called isser lechatchila? What's the isser?
Right. The second it hits it, it's already nothing.
What's it? Right. No, but even if it's not, what's the isser? I'm allowed to make I'm allowed to make a dairy coffee. I'm just not allowed to drink it. I'm just not allowed to drink it. If I wait 5 hours now, I can drink it. But what's the issa? Is that called ein mevatel issa? Exactly. So what you do is you go to a guy and say, "Hey, buddy, did you make yourself flacious in yeshiva's lunch? No, you only had the power of stuff. Do me a favor. Can you make a coffee?" And then you say, "Oh, you made a coffee. Now give it to me."
Smoking and drinking.
I don't know if it's mutter to do that, but it's certainly a good shtick.
Oh,
Right.
but why? Oh, but not lechatchila.
Anyway, so that would be enough kamina of whether you say chaticha nasas nevela or not. Yeah,
You could do that.
you cannot be mevatel thing. Ain't mevatel nisel lechatchila. You
No,
cannot.
isser here.
It says isser. It's isser derabanan. Ain't mevatel nisel lechatchila. And depending on what you're being mevatel, there's a knas, another knas. Okay. Anyway, so we got that clear. So once you say something is a basar b'cholav, then you get into the whole chaticha nasas nevela issue, to which we paskin that by basar b'cholav there is chaticha nasas nevela. But it's important to understand, again, if you're going to paskin shilas of mixtures, it's important to understand that chaticha nasas nevela by basar b'cholav, that we paskin there is chaticha nasas nevela. Again, this entire cup becomes a chaticha of nevela, and you need shisha neged this cup. That's only once this mixture became basar b'cholav. Remember, we said with the concept, going back to the consomme, if you mixed in the consomme, which is meat, when that initial mixture goes in, the shishim neged the meat, then even though that's a basar b'cholav issue, you're not saying chaticha nasas nevela because it never became asar. Meaning only once the basar b'cholav becomes asar, then we say chaticha nasas nevela. But in the process of becoming, I know I'm sounding not so clear here, but I'm saying in the process of it dropping in, if it never made it to a mixture of isser, then you don't say chaticha nasas nevela. Before, meaning when let's say this is a hot milk, right? And I take this consomme thing, which is, let's call it for simple sake, 95% parav ingredients, 5% meat ingredients, right? So now you dropped it into the milk. If you go with the milk opposite the 5% that's in this consomme of meat, it's going to be batal. That meat is going to be batal. If you go with the entire cube, then it's not going to be batal. So you say, 1 second, we just learned that chaticha nasas nevela, we say by basar b'cholav. So then we should need to go with the entire cube, not the meat. The answer is no, we go with just the meat because it never made it to an issa basar b'cholav. Because when this consomme cube dropped in, there was right off the bat, there was 60 times more milk than the meat that was in the consomme. You got the difference? Right? So that's what you have to know. Again, in the process of it becoming basar b'cholav, it's not, we don't say chaticha nasas because it's heter, the consomme is mutter. Same thing we said with the coffee, with the non-dairy creamer. It's not, you're going to go with, again, assuming you don't eat chalav yisrael, but even so, we don't say chaticha nasas with other assumers, so it doesn't make a difference. Bottom line is, even if you don't eat chalav yisrael, even if you eat chalav yisrael, the coffee is going to be mutter, right? But point is that in the process of it becoming batal, you're not going to say chaticha nasas nevela. It's only once it becomes asr, then that whole mixture becomes chaticha nasas nevela. Now, if you're not getting the chaticha nasas nevela thing, I remember when I first started basar b'cholav a long time ago, I had this rebellion against it. Every time I heard the word chaticha nasas nevela, I said, I'm out. I can't understand it. I'm out. And then finally, It just dropped into my head, no pun intended. At some point, it just dropped it. At some point, it dropped into my head. And then I said, oh, now I got something else available. It just, but my whole brain was bottled until it became ice bottle, right? So again, you just don't get frustrated if you're not chopping it, because eventually, once you just go through the Basar Bechalav halach and you just hear it over and over, and then you start hearing the shilas, and then at some point, it just falls in your head. That's at least if it fell in by me, it's falling by you. Okay. That's one more, and then I know it's late already. So then let's just then there's one other thing that would be negay v'chein. Yeah. V'chein le'inyan chaticha haruya le'eschabed. Ches hey. That's also a phrase that you need to know. A chaticha haruya le'eschabed means a piece that's roy to be mechabed somebody. So meaning, we use always the example that a piece of meat falls into your cholent, right? A piece of treifa meat falls into your cholent, or a piece of cheese falls into your cholent. So we say it's balta b'shishin. There's a few things that are not balta b'shishin. One of them is if it's a chaticha that's so chashuv that you would serve that piece to somebody who's, meaning if you would be mechabed somebody by giving him that piece, then it's never bottled, not even in 100,000.
So expensive.
Snicker. No, I'm assuming it got mixed in.
So
If
expensive.
it's Nicker Avad, you got to take it out. We're talking about, let's say you have a piece of expensive meat, and you would even serve this much to a guest. I don't know what meat that would be, but let's say in theory, right?
Kobe.
So, yeah, okay, maybe he died, no? That's fine. There you go. So anyways, like a little piece of meat, like, and if you would serve that to a guest, then that meat, it's meaning that serve it to a guest by itself, that meat would never ever be bottled.
So there's also the very small, expensive cheeses that people get like slices.
Whatever, whatever, and anything that would be chashuv is never bottled. So that would also have nafkaminas if it's basar b'chalav. Yeah. Now the hisagal of a taz, and the taz, this is the shach, right? Again, we said the ber hetiv is a kitzur of the shach and the taz. So the shach, that's what the shach says. That would be nafkaminas. Again, for chaticha rul is chabed, whether it's bottle, let's say that piece of cheese or piece of meat is very, very chashuv, so maybe it would not be bottle, right? Or what we said, chaticha nasan chanan, yeah? This is a golova taz. The taz asks on him, the ikara tal Rabbeinu Ephraim, the machar basar b'chalav. This we discussed before. What's the ikar reason that we're machar basar b'chalav? Hu mitam shekol echad b'fnei atzmai mutter, right? Each one by itself is mutter. Rakataruvis asru, but the mixture becomes asru the nasu guf echad, right? Because now it became one guf, like we said. The chiddush of basar b'chalav is that each one's mutter. When you mix it together, it becomes asur. But you don't have that here because it was asur from before, right? You don't have that chiddush because one of them was treif, right? So you don't have the chiddush. V'zeh lo shayakam b'min echad tamei. Right? And then he says, "V'chein chaticha ruli yischad le'shayach kan t'loy garam mishar isra habelua ve'im ba mishum chaticha ruli yischad." Okay, that let's leave that part because that's a whole sugi. V'gam hashach chaylik al haba, and the shach either way is chaylik on the ba. Okay, so basically, that's the sugi. Whether you're going to say that something is treif that gets mixed together with chalav becomes aser, so that is. So that would be the nafkamina, whether you say chaticha ruli and more importantly, chanan. Right? I know that was a lot. We didn't accomplish nearly what we needed to. Oh, it's 11:05 already. So it is in 2 hours. I know, but I got other stuff to do, and I don't want to bore everybody. Maybe we should have done it later this week. Okay. Anything else we should do? So we unless you want to go a little bit longer. You want to go a little bit longer, or it's you're burned out already. It wasn't easy. It wasn't what do you keep saying? Hanan. Hanan is
We're gonna finish, you know.
Oh, we got time to finish.
Huh? Was about a couple of that.
Yeah.
So I knew you.
What else? Basar chaya va'oif. Should we get it? Yeah, okay, let's just go. Let's go a few minutes. Just get to the Ramah. At least we'll get to the Ramah, because otherwise we'll spend 10 minutes next week trying to figure out where we started, where we stopped, right? Okay, so Basar chaya va'oif afilu b'chalav tahira. See it? Back in the Shulchan Aruch. Basar chaya va'oif, right? Chaya and oif is afilu b'chalav tahira is mutar b'bishul v'hana, right? Va'af ba'achila, and also only rabbanon, right? So basar chaya and oif is meaning chicken and milk. That's what we're talking about. Chicken and milk. That's the most common example. Chicken and milk, turkey and milk is mutar b'bishul and hana, and even be'achila ena asa elam b'derabbanon. Be'achila it's only asa b'derabbanon. On aval dagim v'chagavim. Well, that's a loaded thing. That's we're certainly not going to do that. Dagim v'chagavim. That's a whole sugya. We'll leave that to next week. But the point is that chicken and milk is no problem, right? Right, and then look at the Pischei Tshuva Zayin. Pischei Tshuva Zayin says, "Ubasar chayev va'oif, v'hu adin ifcha." And the same thing, the opposite. Basar behema tahira, v'cholav chaya tahira, ena asam min atayra. Teferes l'moshe, right? Meaning it's also the opposite. I don't know if any, yeah, goat's milk. You have meat and goat's. No, goat's milk is no. Deer. I don't know. Is there such a thing? Deer milk. They have deer. I'm saying they have deer. Everybody's saying. I guess do they have? Yeah.
Bison.
What? Bison is not meat. No, I know, but we're talking about it has to be a behemoth. If it's a behemoth, it's your standard basar b'chalav.
No, deer definitely.
Deer. Yeah.
Deer is a chaya, no?
Deer is a chaya, right? So then that would be.
Deer doesn't have milk.
Who?
Deer does.
I don't know if it has.
All mammals have.
I don't think they could sit still. If they could sit still. Okay, let's just see look at the Pischei Tshuva. Very interesting Pischei Tshuva Ches, and then we'll stop. Yeah. So Pischei Tshuva Ches says like this: Ayin b'sefer Chamudei Daniel. Look in the Sefer Chamudei Daniel. Yeah, it's Pischei Tshuva Ches. Yeah. Ayin b'sefer Chamudei Daniel Siman Yud Ches Shekosov the mutar levashel basar la'ovid kechavim. You're allowed to cook meat for a guy. The kedera shel chalav eina ben yoima. Now we know that you're not allowed to take a milk pot and cook meat in it, right? But he's saying for a guy, you're allowed to cook basar for a guy in a pot of chalav eina ben yoima. Why? To kol she'eina asa rak midrabanan. Anything it's only asa midrabanan. Like gazru b'bishul v'hana, then we don't make a gzeira of bishul and hana, right? So therefore, it really make a din. It's mutter for us even to cook meat in a milk pot. We just make a gzeira that if you're going to allow somebody to do it in something that in a pot that wasn't used in 24 hours, then we're afraid he's going to do it in a pot that was used in 24 hours, right? So, but he's saying, but that's a derabanan. So anything that's only awesome in derabanan, there's no gezeira, no, not in bishul, not no. All right. What's with Marasayan, which we'll learn Bez Hashem next week. Major sugya of Marasayan. That's Marasayan.
So how's a marasayan? The pod just looks like a regular
Oh,
pod.
very good, very good, very good. There you go. See, we could still go, and your brain is going stark, so you can go, right? V'kan leka marasayin to mi yedayim who kader shabasar shachalav. Who knows? How am I supposed to know? Unless you have marked, unless you have the blue or the red or whatever you do, right? Mikomakam yesh lahachmer, right? But however, there's a reason to be machmer in the Kosav Ramah Sif Vav coming up, and Sif Vav the Asul Lachta is there the Ramah says that you're not allowed to mix a guy's pot. A guy is cooking. Let's say a guy's cooking basar b'chalav, and the guy, I don't know, you're in a hotel or something. He goes, "Do me a favor, can you mix my pot?" So there, the Ramah says you can't do. You know, it's not yours. There's no hana, there's no anything. But there, if you're going with that, then you can't do that here.
It's also.
It's probably, yeah. Can't mix what? Well, you mix.
You're cooking meat in an Eina ben Yoimai, in an Eina ben Yoimai pot.
Or modes, it would be also mixed in.
Yeah. Whatever the reason Ramah says there, also would be also here.
24 hours?
24 hours.
Oh,
Yeah.
so
For Afsha.
You never really cook on any guy's pot ever?
Huh?
So you never really cook on a guy's pot ever, even for.
Yes.
Also, McDonald's
Yeah.
is never shut.
For chick, well,
To work. To,
well, it's never shaykh according. Yeah. Well, we'll get to that in Sifov. Maybe there was real milk, so we're machmer their kitzas. Oh, one more thing I forgot. Look at the Berhativ Dalid. Yeah.
We asked the guy who's allowed one food. He said, "Oh,
Midrabanan. Yeah, let's just do it in the Berhativ. Yeah. Bach Pasak, listen to this. The Olam's not aware of this because everybody says, "Oh, chicken and milk is a derabanan, right?" Bach Pasak, the Basar oif Bechalav hu minat Torah. See, the Bach holds it's also minat Torah. What? B'choylek olav hashach. B'choylek olav hashach. Listen to this. Umevi lashon harambam. Sheha'oimer basar oif b'cholav asa minat Torah oiver b'bal toisa. If you say that oif and chalav mixed together is also you're over on Bal Toisif. You're adding on to the Torah, right? Which is why everybody the olim is used to saying that but chicken and milk is no problem, right? Yeah. Okay. We'll stop over there. Just remember the last line in the Mechaber of Gimel. That's what we're up to fish and cheese. The sugya of fish and cheese. Okay.
Milo to getting a tourist adoption for.
The problem is there's no Tzuras Adaf Shulchan Aruch anymore. I mean, everybody's got different Tzuras Adafs.
It's pretty close. This one or the new one? This and this is the same.